Welcome to another edition of the Creators Outlet, sponsored by our friends over at the Inked Marketing team. Inked Marketing, see what they can do for you and help your Kickstarter or Indiegogo today. Visit www.inked.marketing today. And we welcome our special guest today, Mr. Morgan Quaid. And he is already in tomorrow. We're in the future. In the land
the future
down
looks
under.
Good.
Yes, it looks to be a little sunny, so that's always good.
It is. It's sunny, a little bit chilly, but yeah, definitely sunny.
Very nice. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I see that you're a bit of a musical person.
I am indeed, yes. So yeah, I do a fair bit of music and music production for film and TV and that sort of thing on the side.
Very nice.
Mainly, obviously, guitars and stringed instruments. I'm not so good on the anything with wind involved. I don't tend to get involved in, so brass and those sort of things. There's a keyboard over there. There's a drum kit over there, but they're incredibly messy, so you can't see them. So everything messy is that way, and everything a little bit cleaner is that way. Yeah, so I do a fair bit with music, and then that helps to support the comics side of things and artwork, because I'm unfortunately not an artist. I'd love to be, but you know, we all kind of make that decision at some point. Are we going to spend 10 or 15 years just learning how to do the basics and then slowly get better and better at it, or am I better to invest in people that are much better at that sort of stuff than I am? So I went for the second option, and the music helps sort of fund that and help with indie artists that I work with and all of that sort of stuff as well, and hence getting into the comic side of things. So I suppose I started writing as a writer, looking at novels and those sorts of things, and finding out very early and painfully just how difficult it is to get your stuff out there through a traditional publisher and finding an agent and all of those sorts of things. It's pretty horrendous for anyone that hasn't tried, and it's the story that everyone tells. 1,000 rejection letters, and then the one that comes through. Except you don't often get the one that comes through. So all I have is 1,000 rejection letters, which kind of made me think I need to think about other avenues. And then I eventually found comics as kind of a side. I can't even remember the story of how I first found. I think I was just walking past a comic shop, went in, thought I'd have a look. I don't have a history in comics. I never grew up with comics, other than, I mean, can you call Garfield a comic? Cartoon sort of thing. That was probably my exposure when I was really young. Never really got into DC or Marvel or any of the classics. Missed that entire area. I think I struggled with the idea of what do I read versus what do I look at. I love the pictures, but the having to read along with the pictures, that kind of, my brain didn't didn't work. So I ended up just tending to mainly read. But yeah, anyway, walked into a comic shop probably about 7 years ago or so, found primarily the Image suite of comics, and thought, oh my goodness, there's this whole world of comics that I didn't know existed that aren't traditional superhero comics. They're just a whole world of things. And then I just started buying and reading and buying, and more money disappearing and going into comics. And then I found out about indie comics, and from there thought, well, why don't I just give it a shot? And this is another medium to look at. And then from there just started different projects and fell in love with the whole thing. It was great. And that's pretty much where I am now. Yeah.
So how many comics have you put out so far?
So far, I'm old enough that I'm counting with my hands. So far there's, I think, 4 different projects that I've put out there, but all at varying, like this is the first time I've really gone out and promoted and, done online podcasts and those sorts of things. I've not done any of that before. I was one of those creators sort of squirreling away on my own and and in the back of my head thinking, I wonder how I'm going to get this in front of people. But for a number of years, it's just been working without the promotion, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few projects that are with more traditional comic publishers that they take a while before they see the light of day. So there's a few of those coming up probably next year. But obviously, it's just been working on those in the dark. So none of those have really come to light as yet. So I've got one web comic called Shadow's Daughter, which was a really interesting, it's still ongoing, obviously. It's an interesting thing to do because it's a vertical comic, very different to the normal sort of thing. And I have recently run one Kickstarter campaign based on that. And then there was another one called Idle Thuggery, which is a kind of a superhero story, but from the perspective of an up-and-coming henchman. So much more of the experience of someone coming up through the ranks and all of the people dying around him left, right, and center, and he seems to survive. So there was that one. But again, that was a very small campaign, and I was really feeling my feet. That was my first comic. And then there are 4 or 5 others in various levels of development that I'm just waiting for the right way to sort of start promoting, start getting them out there, all that sort of stuff. So Enmity is the first one where I've really started to go all out with promotion and trying to figure out how to use Facebook. And I figured out yesterday, I don't know when I set it up, but I just realized that I had a writer page in Facebook, which was separate to my Facebook page. And it had been running for years. No idea. Hadn't done anything with it. Don't even remember setting it up. So now it's the process of trying to figure out how that works. And yeah, anyway. But yeah, that's, sorry, a long-winded answer to a very simple question.
Well, that's fine. That's why we're here, you know.
Cool.
So this is the first time you've gone on multiple podcasts to promote anything. I know I've talked to quite a few people that have gone the Tapas and Webtoons direction with their work first to try to build an audience. Got a young lady we talked to the other week from Italy that's been doing her Webtoon series for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And she's a proper artist too. She went to comic school for quite a few years and has been honing and sharpening her craft ever since. And she's releasing everything they do is I guess in seasons. So they run it like a TV show. So they run it in seasons. So she's running X amount of seasons in a collected trade, but the collected trade is like about 230 pages.
Yeah, that sounds very, very familiar. It's like and apologies for people that are a fan of the genre, but I'm not a fan of the romance genre at all. I can't write romance. It's not my thing. But at one time or another, as a novelist, I was exploring, because I think about 60% of the market are romance type books. And I thought, well, surely I can do that. I can just do something that has time travel and like demons and stuff. And it just happens to have romance in there. Surely I can do that. Looked into it. I can't do that. And one of the key pieces of feedback that came back from romance writers that are very good at it, they were saying you need nothing to happen over a long period of time and a lot of words and a lot of emotion, but you don't want things to happen. It's very slow moving in terms of the actual action, which is the exact opposite of the way I like to write. I like things to happen quickly and get in there and all that sort of stuff. And I want a lot to happen and complex plots, and so it just didn't work. But in a sense, the what I found anyways, Webtoons or Tapas or that style of vertical comic, it is episodic in nature, but it's also, you have a lot more time to tease out conversation than what you do in a standard, print comic. And for a while, that was a bit confronting to me. And I was thinking, how the heck do I put this together with an artist? And then how do I do the lettering and the discussion, the dialogue and all of that sort of stuff. But then as I eased into it, I realized, well, you can actually take your time. You can have characters that have a lengthy discussion and you really get into depth with things you wouldn't normally cover. So I've found it's a very different medium. It's also, I was putting together an episode yesterday actually, and I was reflecting, as you're putting it together, it's one of the most exciting things I can do as a writer, because I'm not an artist, but again, I essentially get a pile of art from the artist that I've roughly given them an idea of what I want, and then I compile it as I'm putting the episode together. So I compile, the action and I only have a very loose script that is based on a novel that I'd written originally. It's very, very loose though, which means there are whole episodes in there that have nothing to do with the book whatsoever. They're just things that happen to come up. Some of them come up because the artist is a bit quirky and a bit different to what I've got in my mind. And there's actually been two artists as the thing has gone on. So the artist will, represent a character in a certain way. And I'll think I just didn't think of that guy as having a very full beard, But then you think, but okay, but now that he does, what does that mean? And how can I, so you can have a lot of fun with those sort of things, but it really is like you're creating and writing in one with what you've got to hand and trying to make the most of it. And I won't lie, not being an artist myself, it's there is a financial driver to this whole thing as well, because it's like I don't have time or the finances to go and get this done, in a studio and to have 15 people. I don't have an individual, someone doing the initial pencils and then inks and then flattening colors, and then it's really a one-stop shop with myself. And I do have a colorist work with it and an ink guy. But really, really interesting. And I get that whole thing that there's a massive amount of content, and then you go to a Kickstarter or something and you have X amount of pages. So my first issue, I think, was 56 pages or something, and it was just the first issue. Like it's fairly small. There's not a huge amount that happens in there, but it's still 56 odd pages to get there. So yeah, really, really interesting. The other thing I will say though, and anyone that's on there will know, unless they're hugely popular, it takes years to get a following. And then when you get a following of a certain size, it's a good captive audience, but it's really hard still to get those people to act on something like a Kickstarter campaign. At least what I've found, it doesn't, the numbers don't translate, certainly not one-to-one. But they're really cool platforms to, find a new audience. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that are just tired of what the mainstream's putting out. Like, there's been, I've talked to people that have worked for Marvel and DC, and there's basically like about 18 superhero stories with the tropes that you can tell. Yeah. And they basically just put them in a blender, rename them, and do them all over again just about every year. And I'm like, it just doesn't work. I mean, I used to show up to my comic shop every week, and I would basically take one of everything. Independence, Marvel, DC, because I'm disabled now. Before that, I was working. I was a nightclub DJ for like 30 years.
Wow.
So I made what they would call tips, which I referred to as my comic book slush fund. So I'm like, let's see. The mortgage is paid. The bills are paid. I put $200 on a gas card for this month, and I'm good. Let's see what's at the comic shop that I can spend money on to occupy my time. I played like one online video game and it was free, so I'm like, more comics. But I found in the last few years they're getting more and more and more expensive, and we're getting less and less content. And now the biggest thing is getting your books graded, and
Right.
and I'm like, that always has me questioning things. I'm like, so there's like two two major grading companies, CGC and CBCS out here, but they've got X amount of thousands of people working for both companies. With that happening, how are you going to get a consistent grade on any given book? Because no two people are going to grade it the same.
Yeah. It sounds like there's a little bit too much subjective stuff going on in there.
Yeah, a lot of it is the I think the speculation community has driven up like a false sense of worth in the market, and they're just eating it up like sheep seeing like fresh grass. It's like they just go, and it's like all these variants, and then you have all the comic book dealers, whether they're a store or convention dealers, dishing out big money to all these publishers to be able to get their own limited edition cover with an Art Germ or a Lucio Perella or
Yeah.
Peach from Mocha, whoever it might be, that they're like, okay, this artist is trending very high. Let's get a cover from them, and we'll pay X amount of dollars, but we're going to make 4 times our money back because we're going to charge $150 for the set. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can buy the same book off the shelf with a cover that I'll like probably just about as much, and maybe a little more because it didn't cost me $20. But then the regular price of the books, they're only about 22 pages now, 22, 24 pages of actual story content. And they're like $4.99, $5.99 a piece. So I complain about that, which drove me back into the indie market where I could get, better, fresher ideas, new characters, different stories.
Yeah.
Instead of the same old. And I went from complaining about that to complaining about, ooh, why did I just buy one book for 5 times the amount that I bought that one for? You go, well, in my defense, all the people that are clamoring over special covers with short print runs, these are the epitome of short print runs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
That's
if you had 100 people sign up for your campaign, there's only 100 copies of that book out there.
That's right.
And I know with the conventions coming back, at least over here, creators are starting to overprint, but like just a small percentage, so they have goods to bring to the convention, so they can show people, what they've done, and hopefully sell those and move on to the next thing. But the other thing I found with the Kickstarter Indiegogo market is it might be one issue, say from you or anybody else. Like you said, your first issue was 56 pages.
Yeah.
Well, that's like 3 comic books, like from the mainstream, content wise. And I'm like, well, this is going to be better because it's a longer story. So this is like getting 3 issues all at once, sitting down. I have it. I'm good. And there's also the other thing where people are supporting creators instead of supporting a big corporation.
Yeah, and it's I mean, for me, it's a whole new world, and very exciting and very new still, even though I've been writing comics now for a while.
Mhm.
But like you said, I have no idea what to call it. Maybe collectibles / art side of the industry was something I'm completely in the dark about. So the whole idea of having, limited runs with a specific cover, and then pretty much anything that you put out there, you've got to have at least 3 covers, and people are going to buy based on either the artist or what they like, and
Mhm.
you charging a premium for something because it has one piece of artwork that's slightly different to another piece of artwork, both of which I think are fantastic. It's really interesting and new for me, and also a little bit absurd, if I'm being honest, because I've just not come from that background. I'm not familiar with it. And for me, and I think a lot of indie creators are probably like this, the biggest thing that we want, or the biggest thing that I want, I won't talk for anyone else, is to be read. So I don't care. I mean, I care about the artwork. I care about what it looks like. I care about all of those things and quality and all the rest of it. But my driving concern is I just want people to read it. I want people to have the joy of reading the thing the way that I've written it and the way that the artist has portrayed it, because I'm excited by that story, and I know the twists. I know what's going to happen. I know when they get to that page and they turn over, they're going to go, "Oh my God, this can't happen," or "This is amazing," or "That looks so cool," or what that. It's almost like I want people to have those experiences, which are a slightly different version of the experiences I have when I create this, and it's just words on a page, and my brain is fizzing, and I'm thinking, "Oh, that could be so cool." And then there's a whole other level when you talk to an artist, and then they get excited, and then they start showing you sketches, and you start thinking, wow, it's becoming a thing now. And then they throw up things that you think, I'd never even thought of that. This is so much better than the original idea, and it develops and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's a whole new area for me. The whole idea of not just creating something that's a story or an idea or something that you care about, that you want other people to experience. But then there's this added layer of the artwork and individual pieces of artwork and the collectability of those artworks and the individual nature of each of them, which again, for me, coming from a music background as well, is very, very strange, because the whole idea is to get a successful business and start making money and all that sort of thing. You want it to be digital and repeatable. The two things. That's how you make money. You want anyone in the world to be able to get in and buy your thing, and as many times as they can to come back and buy the same thing or a similar thing, and all the rest of it. So the idea of, no, there's only 20, and once these 20 are gone, you've lost. That's a really strange and exciting, new thing that I'm looking at and trying to navigate through.
There's been a couple of campaigns that I've interviewed and backed, because, well, I got to do something. And one of them was done. 2 writers both have their own IP books, but they would team up together because both of these things take place in the same world, but in different time periods.
Wow. Okay.
But the one of the writers, Matt, is also a rock and roll musician, does all kinds of heavy metal stuff, and has a band, and they release an album that goes with his books.
Yeah.
This time around, sadly, one of the guitarists and one of his very close friends was in a fatal car accident 11 days after putting down tracks on this album.
Oh no.
Very sad. Somebody ran a light and snuffed out his flame. So the last thing he did was put down tracks for this album. What they also did is they commissioned another artist to do an extra cover. And the cover is a portrayal of the passed away guitarist.
Oh, wow.
On the Game of Thrones, made out of all his, well, you know, for being a guitarist, hundreds and thousands of his own personal guitars.
Oh, wow.
And they set something up that anybody that bought that variant, the money from that variant would all be donated to the family.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing.
And, you know, with a thank you card. So, of course, I had to get that one.
Yeah.
You know, I also bought the album.
Yeah.
Because the new book actually had, at the back of the new book, they put in all the lyrics and the, you know, where in the story that music would come in if this was like a full-length animated feature.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing that got me is they did splatter vinyl.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, oh, I gotta have one of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll listen to it, and then it'll be signed. It'll go up in a frame on my wall.
That's really cool, and it's really cool how you can, these sorts of indie campaigns can allow for that sort of highly individual experience in reaction to something that's happened in the real world that means a lot to people, and then they can, you know, put that in as part of the campaign, and people can kind of join in and help support, and that is really, really cool. I
found out a big thing about that that Matt let me know, because he didn't know and somebody else told him, because there's actually crowdfunders for music, and then there's crowdfunders for comics, because their campaign did both. They could swap back and forth where their campaign showed up on Kickstarter.
Oh,
they could alternate weeks. So one week they were listed in comics, the next week they were listed in music, and they gained like a nice percentage more people that, wow, there's comics on Kickstarter. I only ever buy music here.
That's interesting. So about 4 years ago, I think it was, my first campaign, again, very under the radar, very low. I was first comic. Obviously, I'm from a music background, so I did the same thing. It was in terms of an album that goes with a book. So everything I do tends to have that, because it's something I can produce that doesn't cost me anything, but it's, you know, people like it. But I wrote a selection of short stories and then commissioned a bunch of artwork to go with the short stories. And the idea was, a track listing of, I think, about 20 different tracks, and you listen to that specific track while you're reading that short story, and it gets you in the mood of what's going on, you know, in the world and all that sort of stuff. And I love that idea. I think there just wasn't much of that going on back then. And again, I did not promote it at all, which was really silly. So, you know, nothing happened. But it's the same with the current one that I'm doing. Again, there's an album attached to that and a theme song that kind of, you know, fits the post-apocalyptic kind of themes, but it's a bit rocky and a bit cinematic and all the rest of that. But then the actual content of the album are pretty much things that I thought, this is what the main character, Daisy, this is the kind of stuff she would listen to. So I'm kind of imagining her walking around the wastelands, you know, with the sole remaining iPod or whatever it is that's still working, that has these tunes on it. And the beauty of that is no one can say to me that that's wrong, because no one knows the mind of the main character except the main character and me, obviously. So they can't say, come on, man, that sort of music doesn't really suit this thing, because well, it suits her. This is the music she likes, So it's a bit of a cheats way around that way, but yeah, I love that idea.
It still works.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's that they can't, I don't know why I'm always thinking people are gonna. Maybe it's, yeah. I don't know if other people are like this, but I'm always thinking, how am I going to defend what I'm doing against people that are going to say that doesn't make sense? It probably says more about my own mind than anyone else. There's a new project I'm working on with a friend of mine who's an artist that I've worked with a lot, and it's his passion project. It's another post-apocalyptic sort of thing, very broody, dark, mother and daughter kind of struggling to survive in a very harsh post-apocalyptic world. The artwork is astounding, and we've been working on a track for that, and just going back and forth, on that sort of stuff as well. It's a really interesting thing because he's also wanting to do just a single track, but a different track for every issue that has different elements that reflect what's in the issue. So I think his next issue is going to have a burnt out church. So immediately we're thinking, well, church bells, maybe some monks in the background, really brooding, dark kind of cinematic stuff. It's a really cool thing because it kind of just adds a little bit more to the overall experience, which is nice.
Well, let's take a look at your current program, Enmity.
That's the one.
26 backers, 24 days to go. You've got a goal of 1552, and you're up at 976.
Yeah, I think it's 62% or something like that.
Yeah, just a little over halfway.
Yeah. Not that I'm checking every moment of every day, of course, but
were you glued to it for the first 24 hours?
Oh, look, yeah, it's always like it doesn't matter how many of these sorts of things you do. Yeah, you're always wanting to pay attention because I'm also I'm so excited about even one person thinking this is cool enough that they want to read, that as soon as someone does back it, I want to talk to them and say thank you. This is really, means a lot. Because for so long I've been writing in the dark and not had people I could talk to about these things and share the characters with and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, super exciting. And then we're kind of at the midway point of the campaign now, and this is the point where you kind of hit the doldrums and things slow down and you try and think of new ways to get people interested. But it's this balance between, I really want people to get interested, but I also want them to be the sort of people that would like this. I don't want to twist anyone's hand or spam them or anything like that. So I'm trying to find that balance. That's Daisy, by the way. So she's the main character.
Hi, Daisy. Don't knock my head off.
Yes, with your impromptu spear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the video.
Cool.
I never knew my father. Heard a lot about him, though. But I never actually laid eyes on the old boy. Rumor is he's still around, skulking in the shadows somewhere, stirring up trouble. Not sure what I'll do if I ever catch up with him. Hello, little friend. What are you up to this fine morning? Breakfast.
you go.
So, the video.
Yeah,
Did you produce that whole thing yourself?
I did. So I had the voice of Daisy was not my voice because for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So that was a friend of mine, Kath, who does voiceover work. So she did the voice, and then everything else was me. And the music was done with guitars that are around there somewhere, and a few other things that were put in there. But yeah, that was great fun to put together as well. Just because the artwork is there, and again, it feels like I'm part of the creative process a bit more as I'm compiling it and thinking about what it's going to look like. And I just the setting and everything is just really cool. It's that really nice kind of post-apocalyptic, almost like Old West kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Oh, it was a great trailer. I was like, wow.
Thank you. Yeah.
Music and the comic book panels like sliding in and out, and
yeah, it was great fun.
A little scary with beheading the raven and then eating it like it just came from Kentucky Fried Ravens or something.
That's my favorite bit, when the head goes, flying into the air. Yeah, that's really cool. There's a shot of her. Actually, if you scroll down, you'll see the first shot of her. She's got the spear and she's got a dead crow tied to the spear, which I thought was quite funny.
Awesome.
Yeah. Kentucky Fried Raven. There you go.
You've already got testimonials on the page.
Yeah. I went out to a few people and asked them to read it, and a couple of them, like Mark. I've known Mark for quite a while, and he's someone that I threw ideas to years ago when I was just starting to write and all of that sort of stuff. So he's followed my stuff fairly closely, which is nice. And yeah, Rye is a massive fan, which is really awesome because he's also a top guy. Same with Sean. So yeah, it's just good to get some people, get some feedback from people. It was really good.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah.
And we have some background on Miss Daisy.
Yeah.
Lucifer's estranged daughter.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So now we come to it. So the central premise of the story is Lucifer is insanely bored with his job, so he quits and decides to just go on a bender.
Been there, done that.
Yep. Just goes out, drinks, does drugs, does everything that he can, sleeps with a bunch of women, and one of them happens to get pregnant. And then 16 years later, we catch up with Daisy, who is Lucifer's daughter, but does not know who her father is and doesn't know really who she is. But also the Lucifer in the story, or the devil in the story, is not the sort of traditional Christian notion of the devil. It's more of a advocate or so someone that works for God as the voice to try and keep balance between good and evil. So his whole thing is he will whisper in the bad guy's ear and make them do the bad thing to balance out the good and the bad in the world, because everything is about balance instead of things being too good or too bad. So of course, Garden of Eden, he whispers to the snake, and then the snake, talks to Eve, and then on we go. So it's all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of partly set in a post-apocalyptic world and partly set in a heaven sort of environment where the angels are trying to figure out what to do, because Lucifer doesn't want to do his job anymore. And the result of that is they need someone else to do that job. And the angel that they get to do that job is much less of an artist and much more of a brute. And that's how the whole world descends into this apocalyptic chaos that we find Daisy in.
We have our cast of characters: Daisy, Lucifer, the Crow, for however long the Crow is here.
Well, I haven't specified which crow, so there might be another crow that turns up.
It's like,
These ones.
It's like, well, you do know there's more than one crow on the planet, right? Yeah. It's post-apocalyptic times. You don't know. This could be the last one. She might have eaten all the rest.
That's right. That's right.
Shield Guard and the Forsaken. The Forsaken are very scary.
Yeah. So they are, I suppose you could call them the fallen angels, but there's a whole story which is kind of comes out more in the second issue around how things came to be the way they are. But in the first issue, they're pretty gross and pretty scary. And the artist made some choices with some of them that I thought, wow, okay, that was not exactly what I thought, but it's pretty cool. Let's keep it.
The fact that some of them are wearing nothing but a chastity belt under the waist.
Yeah, that was the choice I was thinking of. Probably a spiked undergarments and nothing else. But I mean, it's apocalyptic times. What are you going to do? You know, if you're a fallen angel, you're going to wear something like that, I guess.
You might burn down there, and you don't want nobody going there.
That's right.
Yeah, let's take a look at the covers.
Yeah, so it's the.
Oh, it's the daddy-daughter cover.
Yeah. Yep.
By Froon Studios.
And this is an alternate, I suppose, kind of a 80s throwback Escape New York kind of deal by friend of mine, Willie, who I'm working on that other project with.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, this cover is definitely a little more demonic than the first, of course.
It is, yeah. I like the snake wrapping around.
Yeah.
And the thing you'll notice with the Lucifer character as well, he kind of looks like Jesus, or traditional depictions of Jesus, which is 100% on purpose to kind of get away from traditional notions of the horns and the red skin and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always eating something, which I just think is just cool in a character that has such an impact on the world and the universe. That he's just always nibbling on something, feeling carefree.
He's always eating something, and he's not fat. I hate him already.
Yeah, well, you've got to be like either an angel or a fallen angel to get away with that. So
yeah,
Apparently,
I am neither.
Ditto. Neither am I.
And we got some sample pages down here.
Yeah.
Taking place in Nevada.
Yeah, no idea why I chose Nevada. I mean, why not? It's good setting.
Yeah,
but you'll notice though on the first page it puts the version of Earth that it's on, which is a genius. So it says Nevada. I think it says version 1.2 or something like that.
Yeah.
The genius of that means if anything doesn't quite add up with the real world, I can say, yeah, but this is an alternate version of the world. So it's slightly different than the real Nevada,
We're in a different dimension.
That's right.
Did you see the signpost ahead?
Yeah, that's right.
Abel and Cain.
Yeah.
Lucifer just watching history unfold and getting more and more bored as the years go on.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And then this is one of the pages from when the action sort of kicks in. There's a couple of you Forsaken and the chastity belt garment. Nice and prominent.
I don't think anybody's going to be cosplaying as the Forsaken anytime soon in their convention.
Man, part of me would love to see it, but yeah, I don't think that'd be allowed in. That's pretty rough.
Yeah. So, what do you got there? Well, you want to find out? behind
so
the
this
scenes
is
booklet.
Yeah, so this is to accompany, you either get the digital or print version. It's, sometimes they just add this to the end of a comic, but I've done it as a separate book. Early sketches, how we decided on the characters, some of the things that didn't make it into the final cut. There's even a whole, I think there's 4 or 5 pages, down the bottom, which were the artwork that was originally done that just didn't work, and I ended up going with Front Studio artwork instead. But and it's a little bit of the history, a little bit of the story in there. So for those that want a bit more in-depth stuff, there's some really cool things in there.
I always love seeing that, like character design and how they ended up being in the shape they were in the story instead of previous versions that you might have gone through. And
it's cool. It's like watching the outtakes and behind the scenes of a film you really like, or I really like that sort of stuff too. We're also, one of the rewards is to have have yourself drawn into a cast photo on the last page of the comic. So we're going to have a page at the end with Lucifer and Daisy and a few of the other characters, almost as though they're taking a bow at the end of a play or something. Mm-hmm. And then you get drawn in as one of those cast members. That was a pretty cool idea as well, because it's a way of, because it was actually, by the time we set up the campaign, it was too late to add in to the story. Sometimes campaigns, they do that, get yourself added into the background.
Yeah.
Kind of a bit late for that, and it wouldn't work. But we thought, a nice little cast photo at the end would be pretty cool. Yeah,
the curtain bow for the end of Act 1.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a really, really cool idea. And if we don't get enough backers for it, I'm sure as hell going to be in there, and the artist will probably get himself in there as well. So there'll be a few of us.
And the soundtrack.
Yeah, so this is the soundtrack. So there's the theme, which you heard in the video. Mm-hmm. There's also an alternate version of that, which is a cello ensemble version. It has some of the other features in it, but it's a softer, more brooding kind of cello ensemble version. And then the others are, again, the songs that Daisy herself would listen to. So they're kind of a blend of laid back, chill, hip hoppy kind of tracks. There's no singing on there, because I don't want the medical bills for when people listen to me sing. Not a singer. So for this one, it's all just instrumental, but it's something you can listen to in the background and all that sort of stuff as well. So that's pretty much on offer for almost all of the rewards. And I'm looking at the moment, you'll notice that Lucifer has that kitty t-shirt on.
Yeah.
So I've got a supplier sorted out for that. So I'm going to have a couple of giveaways of a t-shirt for supporters over the next few weeks.
Nice.
So it's pretty much just going to be whoever supported, if they can share on their social media, or if they've supported one of my, our other projects, they'll just go into it and I'll pick them at random, and off they go, getting a free kitty cat t-shirt.
Lucifer is going to give you the shirt off his back for supporting this project.
That's exactly it.
Not bad. 12 tracks on the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's not huge, but it's a nice, nice, and they have a similar kind of vibe, most of them. So it's a nice chill kind of vibe.
And you have a listen now link in there, and an album link over at bandcamp.com.
That's it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Now, so the rewards are pretty simple. They get obviously more complex as you go down, but what I have done is we've got a US-based printer and an Australian-based printer, because obviously I'm based in Australia, and posting things to and from here and there is ridiculous. So to get around that, I've got a US-based printer, which means it can be cheap and quick to get to US backers. and I'll do the same sort of thing in Australia. For those that are kind of further afield, it's probably a little bit more problematic, but we'll work out what we can for those guys as well. But yeah, so definitely for US backers, don't worry about there being exorbitant costs for postage because it's not coming from Australia.
That's always a good idea. And I always said before that, if you couldn't get a way around the postage, or you didn't want to go with, a local printer to, someplace like the lower 48, the digital is always a good option, just so more people can read it.
Yeah, exactly. So you can pretty much get everything in the digital premium bundle. The only thing you miss out on is obviously the cover, the limited edition cover, but but everything else is all there.
And in the digital premium, you can just download the album.
Yeah, well, so the digital premium, I'll send everyone a full copy of the album in MP3 format to download, as well as the PDFs for the main comic and the behind the scenes booklet as well.
Very cool.
I'm not sure how far I'm going to go with it yet, but I'm also in the process of writing 2 novellas or smaller kind of essays or books to go along with it. One of them is kind of a backstory of Daisy and where she came from, and another one is written by an old guy who is an old historian, finds a bunker in the middle of nowhere that no one's in there, and he's got enough food to last a couple of months, and then after that he's on his own. But he finds a laptop that works, a little bit of gasoline, enough power through a generator, and a printer with some paper. So he decides to essentially write a history of the apocalypse and what happened and who and why and all that. But of course, he's got limited time, limited power, so he can't afford to edit anything. It's just stream of consciousnness, write, and get as quickly as he can. So those 2 I'm probably going to include as giveaways at some point. I'm just not sure how far that's going to go, but that's coming as well.
Cool. Then we have the basic print.
Yeah, which is essentially just the comic and then the digital version of that as well, thrown in.
Yeah, the PDF will come with everything here on down.
That's it. Yeah.
And the print premium gets you both covers.
Yeah, so that's the behind the scenes book, the blue one, and then the normal one as well, and the album, of course. Yeah. So it pretty much gets you everything except the limited edition cover.
Which, of course, will be the cover everybody wants.
Well, so this is the thing. There's the limited edition cover. If we hit the mark and then go past that, some of the extra awards, the first one is an additional cover that's done by another great artist I work with. And that he's been working on that on the side, and I've just been looking at it, and that is another amazing cover. So people are probably going to be a little bit spoilt for choice if we get to that point, but we'll deal with that when we get there. I'm pretty much going to give everyone the option. So if whoever buys the limited edition, they can put whatever they want on the front and whatever they want on the back. So they can have one cover at the front, one cover at the back. That's fine, whichever one you pick. And then if we hit our next milestone, that can include the additional cover as well.
Nice. Add-ons.
Yeah, okay. So these are some of the other ones I was talking about. Yeah, so these are the other projects I've run. So Shadow's Daughter, that's the webcomic one. That's 58 pages. There you go. So that's the first issue of that one. I'll be running another print run of that, or a slightly different version, and issue 2 a little bit later in the year. But that's for the PDF of that one, or the 3 PDFs of Idle Thuggery, which is the first story arc. 114 pages in total, so it's a good, solid story arc. It's fairly cinematic the way that it's drawn. It's a little bit different, but some really cool ideas in that one. That one, as I mentioned, is the one with the superhero story from the perspective of an up-and-coming henchman. So they're available, and then the other one that I mentioned, the Rust Chronicles Anthology. So that's the book of short stories that I mentioned earlier, with artwork and short stories. Or they can just grab the whole lot in one bundle if they want as well. So it's pretty much everything we've got at the moment.
Everything you got. And the Rust Chronicles, 196 pages.
It is, but there's a lot of writing in there as well. So it's not all artwork. There's artwork throughout, but it's short stories interspersed with artwork rather than comics.
Yeah. Oh yeah, kind of like an illustration at the beginning of the story, and then you go on. You go on.
Yeah, exactly right. And there's a few full page spreads, and then there's at the back a few different. There's a lot of artwork in there, but it's not sequential art all the way through. But it's it's the story of this city called Rust, which is a dream world city. So it's a city that people are dreaming about, and it seems to be the only constant when people are dreaming. And the story goes that some people, particularly younger people, dream themselves into this city, and some of them can't get out. They get trapped there. So not next month, the month after, I think I'll be launching a campaign for a comic called Whiplash, which is the first comic from that Rust Chronicles world. And so this book kind of is the background of what's happening, where this city came from. And then the comic is the first real story to actually bring you straight into that world. That's actually my I don't know what do they call it, a tentpole franchise or whatever the fancy dudes over in Hollywood say. That's the big one. So the Rust Chronicles one is, I have 4 issues of one comic already complete, which hasn't been released, 2 issues of Whiplash, which are going to start to come out shortly, 3 novels, the book of short stories, an album, and 2 more, 1 graphic novel and a comic, all part of this one world, but slightly different stories that take place. So that's the one I've been waiting on. That's, how everyone has their kind of baby, that's the one they care most about. That's the one that's my baby right there. So yeah, I'm really excited about that one starting to come out this year. Really cool. So, but they're all my babies.
Well, yeah, obviously. So what you're telling us is we need to get the book, but the bigger bundle, so we'll have the option, if it reaches the right stretch goal, to get a 3rd cover. And then we all need this super serious bundle, because who doesn't want to read a story about a mob henchman who apparently has a horseshoe up his backside because everybody's dying around him but him. Then you have your other webcomic and the big book of short stories that is going to be launching its own physical comic very soon.
Yes, indeed.
Stretch goals. Here we go.
Yeah. So there's some of the drawings that are part of the cover for the Moses May variant, and I've seen the full cover. I haven't released any of that yet, but it is amazing. And his artwork style is I really love. So yeah, if we hit the 3,000 mark, so that's 3,000 Australian, by the way. So it's obviously different in US dollars. Kickstarter has that quirky thing where you can only do it in your own currency, which is a tad confusing if you're dealing with an overseas market. But anyway.
Yeah, I've gotten used to it a little bit. I can't figure it out by myself. I'll just look and they'll be like, oh, it's this much in euros, and then like in like a light shadow print, like underneath, it'll tell you approximately how much in US currency. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever, just give me the book. Because I bought an original piece of art off the creator of a series called Life on Korra, and that's on the way to me from New Zealand.
Right.
So he's like, I want send me this much. I go, wow, that's cheap. He's like, it's because your dollar's not worth anything anymore. It's going to be a lot more to me, and it's going to be a lot more than what I put there. That's just the translation of currency swap. I'm like, and then I go, oh yeah, now it makes more sense.
Yeah, that's right. The good news with that variant is I don't know how I'll go, but as long as the campaign is funded, I mean, the cover's done. I'm not likely to hold on to the cover and not release it if we don't make that amount, but we'll see how we go. If we get the next one, that one of the characters is a pug in the book, in the comic. So we had an idea. A friend of mine does animal portraits. She's amazing at it. So we had the idea we would do one standard portrait and then Pug of the Apocalypse, if you will, which will have kind of Mad Max version of the pug with the goggles and the horned helmet and the, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, just my God, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we get to that one because that would just be so fun to see. And one of the artists actually has a pug. We as we were building the story, we had a choice of which animal we chose, and it was going to be a Labrador or a something, a bigger dog. And then he suggested, we could do a pug, because it's funny. And we had to go for a pug. A pug not only surviving the apocalypse, but being one of the key characters in this apocalyptic group is kind of hilarious because his only survival mechanism is cuteness, but seems to work. And then if we really hit it, then essentially I'll be building out a new short extended version of the comic. So a side story either of Lucifer or Daisy, or backers will vote on it. So it could be the Crow. Maybe they want to find out more about what was going on with the Crow before it encountered that.
What happened to the Crow? What happened to that? The Crow just wanted to commit that terrible act of suicide by Daisy and be eaten.
Yeah. Well, I have a story planned out for the Crow. So if we did get to this point and people were voting on it, I already have a story planned out. The Crow was kind of the easiest one to write just because it's a bit absurd, but yeah.
So vote for the Crow and the book will get done real quick because you just got to hand it over to the artist. You just got to hand the script to the artist.
Well, that's it. That's exactly right. Yeah. Oh, there we go. There's the team.
You're looking up at the team logo and a little perplexed.
Yeah, that's all right.
Fruns and
so Alex has done most of the artwork with help from Fruns. There's two Alex. Alex Brosnick has done most of the actual artwork stuff, and Alex Avaraz, he kind of manages it and does storyboarding and all that sort of stuff. I think Fruns helps with colors and also managing. So they're really, really, really cool. Sasha's the friend of mine that does she calls it Doodles by Donut because Donut is her dog. And she does dogs and cats and all of that sort of stuff. Really, really cool. They just look amazing. And then Vanilla Groove is actually my music production kind of company.
Cool.
For the thingy there, yeah. And then the two artists below are the ones that have done the covers. So Willie's done the current limited edition one, and then Moses has done the stretch goal one, and they are both amazing artists. and really cool guys. And that's pretty much it.
Build plan. U.S. backers, Aussie backers.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Nice accent.
You know, I try. The tough one was I talked to the creators of Anunu Warriors from Hawaii, and I got a couple of actual native Hawaiian words down good, and he congratulated me on one of them because he even has trouble saying that one. But I go, cool. I go, all the years of watching Dog the Bounty Hunter and Hawaii Five-0 finally paid off.
There you go. That's it.
Of course, you can contribute like an extra $10 to your pledge because you like the project so much and you want to see what that third cover looks like, and you want a cute Mad Max apocalyptic picture of a pug.
Yeah, Pug of the Apocalypse. That's what we're aiming for.
Wondering what it's going to look like in a spiked helmet and a machine gun across its back. The digital basic is it says it's about $10 in US and 12 more in Australia, and the digital premium is $15 US, and the print basic is $21, which gets you the print edition and the Enmity theme song. $30 gets you the print premium, basic edition, the full soundtrack, behind the scenes book, and all digital rewards. And limited edition, which will, I like our prices better. Man, everything's more expensive down there, huh?
It is.
Adam wasn't fibbing. So about $55 US for the limited edition, which will get you both covers with unique cover, and it was signed by the whole creative team. Cool. And all the digital rewards, of course. I like my indie books signed.
Yeah, that's a good. Well, it's it kind of connects you to the group that put it together, and yeah.
That, and how often am I going to fly to Australia?
That's exactly right. Not often.
Yeah, the answer would be never. I don't see me ever getting on a plane, ever. I have a thing for, I might, you never know. I might kill 2 years of time and, go on a boat, but.
Yeah, it's, I mean, we're a long way away. Even by plane, it feels like you're on a boat.
Yeah, it's going to feel like you're, on a rocket ship going to Mars. It's like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, we're not. Oh, very nice. I see you have a retailer tier.
I do indeed.
Excellent. I will have to tag my friend Danny Morales from the Collective in Central Florida. They do a huge amount of indie business.
Right. Well,
they too have a podcast because everybody has a podcast. As we speak, there's 9 other podcasts that I'm subscribed to going on right now.
The other thing with that one is, particularly if we get to the next reward and the Moses May cover is out, the comic book stores will get the option of, do they want the standard one? Do they want the new one? Do they want to mix?
Oh, very cool.
Fairly flexible with that one.
So yeah, 10 retailers can get a 10-issue bundle for about $101. Not too shabby. Come on, retailers, what are you waiting for? It's limited to 30, but there's still 30 left. Come on, get on this. And 200 Australian or 156 US dollars, you can join the cast photo for curtain call for the end of issue 1.
That's it. Yeah. It's going to be good fun.
Somebody has already added themselves in. So there are only 4 spots left. And for about $195 US, you can pledge to become a background character in Enmity issue 2.
Yeah, so we're building that out, starting to build that out shortly. So we thought, well, we'll give people the opportunity if they want to get involved in that one early. Yeah, why not? And either as an angel or a demon or a human pug, whatever,
I want to be a pug. I just want to be small and be able to buy clothes at a regular store. There's 5 of those available. So, man, we'll be sharing this out, and I'll be tagging a bunch of my friends. And I'm sure my friends Trish and Mike will be fighting with each other. Not about backing the campaign, but which or how many tiers to back.
Now this is the big one. So this is pretty much you want to join the creative process and you want to write as part of the Enmity story. So it's writing an 8-page comic. What I haven't got here, obviously these are extremely limited, but if someone does pick this up, my inclination is to double the page count paid for by myself to get to 16 pages. So it's close to an issue, and it's pretty much, again, a side story that we would work on together. Work with the artists, do the storyboarding, get it all together as quickly as we can, so we can get it out to backers, because this would be included as part of the comic build. So they would be credited as a writer and a producer with the whole thing, but it would also be added to everyone else in the. So that'd basically be a writer on the as part of the Enmity process. I have no idea how much interest there is out there for that, but I thought I'll put it in there. There might be someone that's really keen to get into comics, but they'd prefer to get into something that already exists, already has its own world, or whatever the case may be. Might not be of interest, but if it is, man, that would be great fun to work on.
Yeah. Let me do my sales pitch. Only 1,500 Aussie or 1,165 US.
There you go. A bargain at any price, as they say.
Yeah. Or to quote RoboCop, I'd buy that for $1, but it's not $1. But but that is that's a very cool idea too. This is going to be the first I've heard of people being able to basically pick a plot for like a 4-page like mini story that they were going to be able to be basically like a background character involving one of the main characters of that Kickstarter's book, and they may or may not be brutally murdered in this story. Who knows? But I've never heard of actually being able to be, hey, you need to figure out what you want to write, and then we're going to work on what you're going to write, and then we're going to storyboard it and get the art done, and we got to hurry up and do this because this has to go out with the books.
Yeah. It's kind of a crash course in how do you quickly write and build a comic and get it out there. And I mean, obviously I've got 3 or 4 ideas ready to go that I could sort of say, hey, look, here's some things I've thought of, if you wanted to pick one of those and run with it, and I would obviously help edit and work on the script and all of that sort of stuff. So and this would be what I was working on, so I would be as quick as I could to get this part turned around. But yeah, we'll see if it's of interest. It's definitely an option. And obviously the reason why it's the amount that it is because there's a big chunk of artwork involved in that. So that's
there's a big chunk of artwork, and there's a lot of members of the team that need to be compensated.
Yeah. Yep. You're pretty much building a short comic. And that's kind of what it takes, yeah.
But afterwards, they could sign their own comic and have it graded and try to sell it on eBay and see what happens.
Yeah.
This is like one of 1,000. There's only 1,000 of these.
That's it.
Get it before the writer gets hot.
Yeah.
All the stretch goals and the add-ons. There's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, well, I tried to make it as full as possible and to let people know, I suppose, because one of the things that you don't want is to back a project and then that project just dies off and nothing happens. If you really want to see more of it. So I suppose this is to give people a little bit of confidence that there's a lot more that we've got, and the plan is that this will be an ongoing company effectively, or publisher. So it's to give a bit of confidence that there's more going on, and I suppose you're part of this. I mean, a lot of indie creators are doing this, I think, where they have 4 or 5 different titles under their own banner, and they're sort of saying, hey, it's the such and such universe, and you can be part of it, and which is the same thing for super serious comics, I suppose. It's
but you also want to. A lot of people are hesitant in backing somebody they don't know or somebody that's brand new to the scene because they're like, oh, great, what am I going to get? I might get a number 1 and then never see a number 2.
Yeah.
But your showing goes, no, this is just one of many books. I've got 3 issues of Idle Thuggery in the back, Shadow Daughter in print, plus it's a web comic. I've got this anthology, Rust Chronicles of short stories, and you can get everything all together. So you can read just about everything we've done. I still like that. I still like that limited edition cover.
Yeah, I like even the neon sort of colors, and I do like that, and I like the way Daisy looks in that one. It's the most realistic portrayal of Daisy, which was really cool to see, because she's obviously more cartoonish in all the other versions.
Yeah,
but that was cool to see that. And I mean, he's basically turning a highly stylized version into something fairly realistic, which was pretty awesome to see. And I love that spear. Man, we went through some back and forth on the spear or the weapon. It could have been a sword, could have been a this, could have been a that. And I just love the idea of something that looks like it's been just bolted together from scrap metal, but it also looks pretty wicked and like it would hurt a lot.
Yeah, well, you can tell. Yeah, it's definitely something I found in the dirt in the Nevada desert on this different earth and bolted to a stick.
That's right.
The stick doesn't look like it's sturdy enough for a bolt that big to go through, but this is why it's a comic book and not a movie. Because then the weapon would be much bigger.
Yes, and I presume fairly heavy.
Yeah, it made me with the points here. It made me think maybe it was like the jaw of some like mutated animal or something. But then I saw the other pieces and I go, no, it almost looks like one of the weapons from the old Halo games.
Oh, it does too. Yeah,
like the blaster that has those two. You hold it in the middle, and then it's got the two pieces that come down.
Yeah.
I think this would hurt more though.
It kind of looks like it would have a bit of tetanus and a few other nasty things in it as well. So, if you got jabbed with it, you might not die straight away, but you're going to die at some point.
Yeah.
Gross.
Fairly quickly. It's going to hurt going in, but it's going to hurt a lot more coming out.
That's exactly right.
Like the line from the Sheriff of Nottingham in the Kevin Costner Robin Hood movie. When he goes, I'm going to cut out his heart with a dull spoon.
That's right.
Why a dull spoon? Because it'll hurt more, you twit.
That's right. That was a classic.
Yeah, let's get a Robin Hood that has no English accent whatsoever.
I mean, they didn't even try. Didn't even try.
They're like,
no.
Do your best English accent. And then they heard it and they're like, forget it, just talk.
Yeah. Do your best Kevin Costner accent. Okay, that's fine.
And, it wasn't just him, Will Scarlet, too. I guess because they're brothers, neither one can have an accent. Hey, it was still a fun movie.
Yeah, it was. There were a few, I think, that within a year of each other or something. There was, or a couple of years. There were definitely two of them, maybe three.
Oh yeah, there's no shortage of Robin Hood movies.
No.
There is, however, a shortage of good Robin Hood movies.
Yes, true. True.
Same thing with King Arthur movies.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the best King Arthur movie? I don't know, Excalibur. There's that cover. Yeah. That I wasn't even paying attention, but in the bigger picture, you can see Daisy actually looks like a real person here instead of kind of like an animated or manga character.
Yeah. I mean, depending on how things go, I'd love to get Willie, the artist, to do maybe a side issue in his style, like a little bit more realistic. That would be pretty cool to see as well, and even to see how he interprets the kind of they're called Forsaken, the fallen angel characters.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to see how he draws a codpiece. Basically, that's what I'm most interested in. How does he draw that spiky codpiece, lifelike spiky codpiece?
Because if it's a little less threatening, we might be able to get somebody into a purple jumpsuit and make that piece out of foam for him and let him come to the conventions. All he's doing is he's eating.
Always eating.
He's on a perpetual lunch break. That's what it is.
Yeah, and it just, I mean, what do you do when you're bored? You eat. So
yeah, sadly.
Always bored. He's always bored.
That's how I know. Same thing. That's how I got here.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
How'd you put on so much weight? Go, I don't know. I've only been eating ice cream and drinking soda. Well, that'll do it. Very cool project, and you get some other stuff to back it up as well. So
yeah,
with the right pledges in here, and of course we want everybody to check it out and pledge. If you're a little short on funds now, please share this out to all your social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you like to get social with the media. Share this out and tell people about it and get it out there. Definitely hit the save button on the Kickstarter page, so it'll remind you to go back and pledge before the campaign's out, because there's still 24 days left. There's plenty of time to get in on this, but sooner than later would be the key.
Yes, yeah, that would be good, and particularly some of them are obviously limited, so once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah. There's a lot of limited tiers. Don't forget about all that cool digital swag you can get, not just of this book, but of other projects that Morgan has as well. And Morgan, where do you like people to follow you so you can interact with the fans of the book?
Facebook, I think it's Morgan Quaid Writes is the page, at Morgan Quaid Writes. Instagram / Morgan Quaid is fine. That's probably ideal. I have a page where I review indie comics, as well as publishing my own stuff, obviously. So if you go to www.superseriouscomics.com, that's my main site. You can contact me through there as well. And there's lots of indie projects that I review that go up there, as well as my own stuff. And that's also on Instagram, Super Serious Comics, and Facebook and Twitter. Same with my name as well. So yeah, anywhere there. And by all means, anyone watching, listening, if you want to know more, if you're interested, just shoot me a message, get in touch. Happy to chat. Always happy to talk about this stuff, or even, if you've got one of your own projects and you're wanting to chat, why not? I like to chat.
Yeah, reach out and talk. And if you're from the States, you can talk to somebody in the future.
That's right.
They can tell you how the day's turning out already,
Exactly right. If it's burning behind me, that's a good sign you need to get up and leave or do something else. But at least you'll know.
It's just letting you know that, you have 6 hours left.
Yeah, that's right. Enjoy them, because it's all going downhill very quickly.
and then Daisy's going to cut your head off and eat your arm for lunch. But just like you're a crow. But Morgan, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking with us and telling us all about this project. I really dig the art and what I'm hearing in the book, and of course, spiky god pieces. What's not to love?
Thanks so much, Will. Thanks for having me on. It's been great fun, and really enjoyed it. I'll keep working on those cod pieces and see what I can come up with next time.
And I will be downloading the audio for this, and I'm going to go up on my podcast platform, and I will tag you in those on Twitter and Facebook when they're done.
Great. Fantastic.
So thank you very much. All the best, and we will hopefully talk again soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Will. Have a good one.